Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I'm just going to click. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I think I'm going to click. Hi, welcome back. Did I do it? Yes, I did. I was up at 3 o'clock this morning because I had an idea. It's like, have you seen those little cartoony jokes where the brain wakes the person? It's a girl sleeping. The brain says, "Are you awake?" No. And it says something, and now she's awake all night. Every time I see one of those, I say, "Yes, yes, I know how you feel, and I know what's going on." So when we spoke on Tuesday, I was telling you a couple of things. I'm kind of odd in my chair here. Here we go. I was telling you a couple of things about behavior, and I was telling you two kind of halves of behavior. One is that we get to choose whether we want to be bitter, whether we want to stay stuck, whether we want to resist change, whether it's because we're afraid or we're exhausted or whatever it is, or we choose to get better. We choose to lean in. We choose to give ourselves permission to have a break and then back at it as soon as we can. And I was talking about that video I saw of the firefighters working, digging trenches, turning sod to try and stop the inexorable creep of the fire. And I was talking about it being mesmerizing, and how sometimes that slow repetitiveness of sameness dulls our senses. One of the things that I'm sure, if you do a fair amount of highway driving, you can get hypnotized by the dots of the dashes on the highway, the stripes, that they're done in a way that is supposed to not just be an unbroken line to show you, yes, it's okay to pass. But the thing is that after a while, if you keep staring at it, you find yourself hypnotized by it, and you can, if you're tired anyway, it's dangerous. So I was talking about the situation we find ourselves in when we are pummeled. We are the onslaught doesn't stop. It doesn't turn off. It stays on. So if the onslaught remains the slot that we are in, and there's no break from it, and after a while, um, certain things start to react in the face of that. Um, your muscles start to stutter, and your brain starts to stutter because it's not built to do the same thing over and over and over again until the end of time. And and when we see people faced with massive overwhelm, massive demands on their resources, and there is not enough time or resource or personnel or belief to say, listen, we all need to take a break. We need to go away. The work still needs to get done, but we're not going to do a good job if we're tired. And some of the decisions that people have to make can end up in life or death. Um, my guy Dave worked in the aviation industry repairing airplanes. He would fix the structure after things ran into them, bird strikes and delivery trucks and things like that, because an airplane is just a skin, and it's held together with rivets and steel. And so my guy was a steel fixer guy. And when a plane gets bumped too many times, it dimples, and it's not aerodynamic. It tends to fall out of the sky, which is alarming for everyone involved. Right up until it stops, and then nobody's alarmed at all. Well, the other people are, but um, so when I was wrapping up on Tuesday, I realized that there was a way for me to talk about this business of mediocrity, and I think it's creeping. Mediocrity doesn't arrive with a trumpet fanfare. There's no there's nobody in a cape Well, there would be. The thing is, he would just miss. He would catch his toe, but I can't even really see him doing this. Not happening. Captain Mediocrity would just be kind of shuffling along, kind of getting it done, phoning it in a lot. Yeah. In fact, there's a commercial. I don't know if you've seen it, but it cracks me up every time. It's it's a health plan. It's a health plan commercial, and it's a guy on the phone, and it's a split screen, and on the other end of the phone is his doctor. Doctor's got a stethoscope, and he's got a surgical cap, and he's in his stuff. And the other end is looking concerned, and he's holding a scalpel. And the doctor saying, and you just make a small incision just above the whatever. And the guy sits, shouldn't you be doing this? And he's not looking at anything. He's like, he's lost in space. Shouldn't you be doing this? The doctor said, no, you'll be fine. It's a very simple procedure. So I'm the guy at home with the scalpel, and the doctor has reached a place of mediocrity, clearly, or at least we hope so. And and the thing about mediocrity, because it's a scope creep. We don't suddenly decide one day to be a C minus. We don't. We start where we are, and then here's what happens. Nothing. At least nothing coming from the outside, and so it decays from within. Right? So I want to tell you another story before I get into the how we deal with this and how we watch for it. The title, by the way, of today's episode, which is 178, is Why People Like Us Can't Be the Judge of Us. And the reason is that we don't have the ability to get far enough back to become people like them, to see from a distance what people like us are doing wrong. We're all in it. We're all inside the picture. We can't see the forest because we are the tree. And so the story, I don't know if it's true, but it's a great story. It's a theater story. The way it works in professional theater is the production company hires, or the theater hires, a director. The director comes in, puts together the show, casts the show, works with all the people backstage and above and below and all that kind of stuff to make sure that everything is following the director's vision. And then the director works with the actors to make sure that his or her vision is implemented, along with the lovely qualities that the creative people bring to the mix. So it's a mix, it's a recipe. So there's this story of a Broadway show, and they've been rehearsing, and the show has opened, and the director stays for opening night. After the show, you go downstairs. There's an area that's a lounge where the actors and friends of the cast and crew can mingle, have something to drink, have something to eat, chat about, oh my God, did you see what happened when? That sort of stuff. It's called the green room. It's very seldom green. Don't know why it's called green room. And so down there, everybody's cheering and celebrating the director. It looks like the critics had a good time. It looks like they've got a hit on their hands. Director says, okay, kids, have fun. I'll see you in the future. And then the director leaves and everybody cheers, and then they get on with their lives. So the story, that's the beginning, that you understand what is going on. This is the ground level. So without the director, the play just continues. Everyone has their marching orders. Everybody's a professional. Everybody knows what they're doing. So about 3 weeks later, unknown to anyone, the director decides to come back and see how the show is doing. And the best way to do that is to sit in the very middle of the theater, not front, not side, not back, but in the middle, because then you get the full thing. So the director very quietly, probably with a hat on, sat there in the middle, and he watched the show. When the show ended and everybody came downstairs, in the green room where they all went for a drink, and they've been going there, for a bite to eat, whatever, for every night, right? This is what they do. It's 3 weeks after the opening. This is their job. Go down. There's a big piece of paper on the bulletin board, and they realize it's the director's handwriting. And what it says on the note is, rehearsal 10 o'clock tomorrow morning to remove the improvements. Because every single person involved in the play without the director in charge saying, don't do that. Why aren't you doing that? Without that one voice, it's anarchy. It's a quiet anarchy. It's not like mutiny. Nobody's screaming and rushing the ramparts. But gradually, each person just changed one small thing. So if there's 100 people involved in production, that's 100 small things every night. And sometimes one or two create three. So, so there's all kinds of very interesting ripple effects that happen when there's nobody riding herd on anyone. And the director is the guy with the outside view. He's the outsider. He's the person who can judge, right? Because he's over there. So, and then of course the next morning, then he's saying, okay, so we're not going to be doing that anymore. And what made you decide that you should be doing it while smoking a pipe? Just random things that people think that'll be a good idea, and then there's nobody to talk to about it, so they just do it. So that's the platform on which I am speaking to you today. And my assistance for this little conversation today is this book called Market Centrics, which I wrote. I wrote it based on stuff I knew, stuff I had known for a very long time. And I had a conversation with a publisher. I was just getting started. I was working at that online agency that hires writers and creative people. And I was writing for hire, and nobody knew who I was. I left Ottawa. There was kind of an ebb in how much work there was to do. And I joined this agency, and anonymously I was writing screenplays and television plays and stage plays, and I was writing business plans, and I was writing branding blueprints, and I was books and novels and how to feed your newt and all kinds of stuff. And it was a wonderful opportunity to hone my craft, right? Because I didn't have to worry about getting paid and paying the rent, because there we are, somebody's, subsidizing me. And people would go away happy. I made what I thought was a fair deal with people. I would say, you pay me by the month. And if you don't like it, then we end it right then. When you've paid me for what I delivered and you say, I don't like it, it's not going well, okay. You don't get your money back because I delivered work, but I don't hold you hostage to the full amount of the contract. And that way, I figured it was fair. And it seemed to work for a long time. I was with that agency for 10 years, 12 years. And I did a lot of stuff. At one point, someone who hired me was a publisher to be their kind of outsourced in-house editor on books that came in from people who were deciding they were going to bring on board as part of their writer's stable or their author stable. And I was having a conversation with a woman who had promised to publish a book written by someone who had kind of lost track of where they wanted it to go. The essential ingredients were really clever, really clever. The execution just needed some fixing. And at one point I said, it's really rough in terms of execution. The publisher said, I know. And I said, well, we were on the phone. And I said, well, why did you say yes? And she said, well, I had to because, I had made promises. And I said, well, yes, but when somebody turns in something that doesn't work. And she said, well, that's why I have you. So anyway, I finished fixing, and as I say, it was clever. It was really clever. It was just the person writing it wasn't a writer as much as they were very good at what they do. And what she did well was manage money. And she had written this clever book for children. And it was kind of a workbook that the parents and the children, or the grandparents, or the aunt and uncle, whoever, would sit down and walk the kids through together. So it became a shared experience rather than the kid saying, I don't want to do that. Why do I have to do that? And I said to her, I have an idea, but where are you going to market this? And the publisher said, I have no idea. I can barely get through it. So, I have so many other projects. I'm just overwhelmed. I don't know. And I said, well, if you're interested, I have an idea. And so she said, What would you know about marketing? And so I didn't, I didn't tell her. I didn't tell her that I'd successfully, no, never mind. So I just said, well, it's a thing I've used, and you might want to think about it. So I explained it to her. And there was a silence on the phone. I thought I'd dropped the connection. And she said, who taught you that? And I said, well, nobody taught it to me. If somebody had taught it to me, I would have told you to go and talk to them. And she said, well, how do you know it? And I said, because I invented it. It's my idea. She said, well, you can't possibly. You're just an editor. And I said, well, nobody's just any one thing. And by the way, I'm a lot of other things, and it doesn't really matter. The thing is, it's a good idea. So why don't you use it? And she said, you know what? It is such a good idea. I'll make you a deal. You write it in a book. And if the execution is good, and I assume it would be because I've seen your work, I'll publish you. And I said, and you'll pay me money? And she said, yes, absolutely. I said, will you give me an advance? And she said, yes. So she gave me an advance. So I, finished whatever project I was on, and I sat down and I wrote the book. And I called it Market Centrics because the term didn't exist at the time. When your focus is on a thing, you centric is the word that describes how you're doing, why you're doing what you do. It is because you are blah blah centric, eccentric first. No, not eccentric. So what I had said in the book was that you can succeed if you do one thing well. You can succeed at anything if you do one thing well. And the thing you have to be able to do well is pay attention to your market. Pay attention to your audience. Pay attention to the hole in the fabric. If you sometimes you'll take out of the closet, like fall is coming and then soon will be winter. And you take the winter stuff out of the closet and you discover that a moth has managed to eat a hole in your favorite wool sweater right there, or right there. And so you think, oh, great. So how am I going to mend that? The idea that there is a hole in anything is an opportunity for someone with a good eye, a good strategic brain, and the willingness to take a risk. It's a great opportunity for that person. And I'll tell you why. It's science. Excuse me, I'm good. Before I tell you that, I'm going to have a sip of coffee. Because I was up at 3:00 in the morning and I didn't go back to sleep. Okay. There is a phenomenon in science called the vacuum of power principle. And it's based on the phenomenon that nature does not like a vacuum. Nature will do whatever it must to fill a vacuum. And there's a great experiment that, well, good morning, Eric. Thank you. There's a great experiment that we all learn in science class in high school. The teacher comes in to teach you about vacuum of power principle. I don't know whether it's, is it physics? I don't know, must be physics. And he or she, they bring in a hard-boiled egg with the shell off. Okay. They also have a glass bottle with a very narrow neck. As I'm describing this to you, if you remember the experiment, you're all going, oh yeah, I remember. And observably, the egg is bigger than the opening of the neck of the bottle. Clearly, not by, it's obviously too big. So the teacher puts the glass bottle, shows in fact, this nothing up my sleeves, and says, you'll see that there's no way you could get the egg in there without ruining the egg. But I can show you, I can prove to you that with nature's help, I can do the impossible. And what the teacher then does is that they get a match, an old wooden match, and they light the match, and they drop the match into the empty bottle. And the match lies there burning because of the oxygen, obviously, right? It's just, the fire needs oxygen. And so then the teacher says, watch this. And the teacher places the egg wide end down on the mouth of the bottle and stands back. And it doesn't take long. What happens is the flame burns up all the oxygen currently in the bottle. The flame is hungry. How is it going to get more oxygen? Miraculously, impossibly, as you watch, all of a sudden, the egg goes foop and falls. It is sucked in through the opening too small. The egg goes foop and lands. And if it doesn't land on the flame keeps burning. The match keeps burning. And everybody in the class goes, "Ah!" And the teacher smiles. Now, here's the thing. You can keep doing it. You can keep doing it all day, fill it up. However, with just the one egg, you turn the bottle upside down, you can't get the egg out. You can't get the egg out. Why? Did I mention that the neck of the bottle is too small? Well, okay, then how do we get the egg out? Well, you get another bottle. You keep doing it until finally you say, oh, for heaven's sake, and you throw out the bottle with the egg in it. So it means that the egg impossibly found a way to get someplace. And nature said, come in, sit down. And now the egg cannot be dislodged by any other means other than to repeat the process. Okay? Nature hates a vacuum. It's the vacuum of power principle. If you fill a vacuum, this is the corollary. If you fill a vacuum, you will succeed beyond all reasonable expectation of success. Say it again. If you fill a vacuum, you will succeed beyond all reasonable expectation of success. If there is no one in town who can cook, and you can cook, but you injure yourself and you only have one hand temporarily till your hand gets better, it's going to slow you down. You know what? Nobody's going to fire you. Why not? Because you're the only one who can cook. They're all going to wait for you to get better. Why? Because you're the only one who can cook. Nature hates a vacuum. The vacuum of power principle is in play. So if you lose the use of one hand and you're slower, you're probably also a little sloppy, especially if it's your dominant hand that got injured. So you probably don't measure things as accurately. You probably don't stir things as efficiently. You probably don't measure. You probably don't watch the time as efficiently because you're preoccupied with other things that you now have to compensate for. And therefore, you're not doing the same job you did when you were double-handed. Nobody fires you. Everybody gets used to the fact that the meals take longer and sometimes they taste funny. Why? Because nobody else can replace you. It's not because you're the best. It's because you're the only. And this is very important because in my conversations the last couple of days, I have been dealing with people who are the product of the vacuum of power principle. And the only way you can see a vacuum of power is from the outside. You know that something is clearly mediocre, clearly. And you also know that nothing begins in a mediocre way. Nobody launches anything in mediocrity. They don't get in a boat, they fall off the dock. Or they get in the boat and they forget to untie it. and nobody is rowing in synchronicity, and so it's kind of waffling all over the place. And eventually, they get where they're somewhere. They get somewhere. They may not get where they were going, but they get somewhere, or they sink, they drown, or they all just die of old age in the boat, starvation. So, I have been dealing with legal people who are in the business they've been in for decades, not one, not two, three, and yeah. And the astonishing degree of ineptitude and indifference is boggling. It's absolutely, you look at it, and it's I'm fairly bright, not today, not with not enough sleep, but I'm fairly bright. And when somebody does something sloppy, late, slapdash, and doesn't seem to see anything wrong with it, you say to yourself, it's a power vacuum principle. There you go. That's what it is. And so the reason I wanted to talk about it today is because I'm talking about making decisions in our lives and deciding when we have reached the end of it's not that bad, and we can see glimmering on the horizon, it's not good enough. And that only happens when we reach a point of no return. And if you are starting to notice that a lot of my analogies and metaphors are navigation worthy, well, of course they are. I'm a Viking. We were navigators and storytellers. Story, go here, turn left, park. So the thing that I want to talk to you about today that is so important is happening all around us, and we only vaguely notice it when it reaches that point of no return and somebody says, seriously? So I'm going to give you a couple of examples. The law firm that I'm dealing with. Several meetings organized to get the original paperwork to them, verified that there was a chain of control, that it's original, that it's authentic, took time, cost money. They have the documents. They certify that they received the documents. They sign and stamp certified copies of the original, and so on and so on and so on. And the reason they do that is because there have to be copies, obviously. Things can happen, fires, floods, hurricanes. And oh, by the way, I have friends. I have friends all over the United States. And I have fans of the shows and whatnot. And I'm just stopping for a second and saying, I hope you are all safe. And I hope you are all looking after yourselves. And I hope you are all being good to you. That nasty hurricane, nasty fires, nasty tornadoes, all kinds of stuff. And no matter how well you try and prepare, things happen. So I just want you to know, if you still have power and you happen to be on social media or somebody close to you is, please let them know that I'm sending be safe. Okay. So scary, really. So, and this is actually a really good example. A friend of mine, his home got flooded. His dad lives in an apartment on the ground floor, has stuff stored, everything destroyed, along with a lot of precious things that they had on the first floor and somebody else on the second floor and so on. The house is just, and it's old, and they don't have a lot of money, and everybody's being good to each other and cutting everybody a break on rent and helping each other out, and the neighbors are helping. And as a result of that, when this storm hit, the rent that was being charged didn't meet a threshold that qualified the landlord to get significant help from the emergency measures people. And the frustration was that everybody was so overwhelmed and so busy, and nobody had any money, and nobody could go to work, and the car was flooded, and everything is flooded. They were starting GoFundMe pages, and the thing is that all of the people that they know were all starting GoFundMe pages because nobody had anything, because everybody was flooded. And so and you say to yourself, okay, something happened, something went wrong. Emergency measures are supposed to address things like this. Kindness and generosity and compassion and we're here for each other is not supposed to be penalized. And so what do? And they're overwhelmed and they're heartbroken and they've lost things that they valued and treasured. And and somewhere along the line, somebody doing a job that didn't seem pivotal turns out to have been pivotal. And they had reached a point in their lives, in their careers, where they were essentially phoning it in, saying, good enough. Who cares? I retire in 6 years anyway. So that's what this is about. This is called scope creep, and it is the scope of ineptitude, the scope of apathy. It's not even a go get him or let's show him. It's not that. It's erosion. It's erosion from within. And here's why it happens. Actually, before I tell you why, I'm going to tell you one more example. How many of you have experienced the frustration of bureaucracy, of red tape, in any organization, on any level, for any reason? Okay, that is a byproduct of scope creep. Keep that in mind. Here's how it goes. If I have an idea and I look around and I say to myself, we are a tribe and there's only 10 of us, we're probably going to be just able to talk to each other and go along and get along. Gradually over time, the tribe gets bigger, people have more babies, people get married, bring people in. Suddenly the tribe is no longer a tribe of 10 people. Now it's a tribe of 200 people. And it takes too long to litigate and mitigate and discuss all the many things and all the many decisions and all the many handed down verbal rules. So they decide that they're going to have a couple of people who will make sure the rules get followed. And so they post little notes and they post little signs and they bend a twig in the forest. If you were Vikings, you did a little squiggle on a rock and basically Kilroy saying Kilroy was here, turn left. And then once a year, this is actually a Nordic, a Viking tradition. Once a year, back in the old Norse days, they would have a gathering together. Everyone gathered together, and it was called a thing. It still is in Iceland. They have a thing, and the whole community comes, and each community is represented by an elder, a leader that they have voted in, and they discuss every transgression and every decision that must be made. And it's done in person once a year. And it clears the air. It gets grievances heard. People feel valued and seen. They get to see each other long lost because, you live on the other side of a thing. You don't see each other all the time. You're busy. And it's effective because it makes people realize that the system works. The system works. So without that, you have something else that gets more and more complicated as time goes by. So when everybody could go and voice how they feel, that was the thing. Today we have elections. And although we are a much more modern society, we have all kinds of technology, it's not nearly as efficient as a thing because they've overcomplicated it. So as soon as somebody's elected, they start planning up and gearing up for the next election. The thing is, once you're elected, you have work to do. You have work to do. Do your damn job. No, I'm already campaigning for however long down the line. Do the job. They elected you to do the job. And the jobs don't get done. Why? Campaigning. And for anything, and I'm not just talking politics, I'm talking everything. So one cycle, somebody knocked on my door. I'm working. Donk, donk, donk. Go to the door. Complete stranger standing there. And I said, yes. Person said, it spoke to me in flawless something, not English. And I said, I don't speak that. In heavy accent. I excuse myself. Are you live here? Yes. No, I'm robbing the place. Hurry up. The owner will be home any minute. Can you help me move a piano? So the person says, I'm so-and-so. I am the mayor. I'm the mayor. Never saw him before in my life. Never saw him. Never saw him. Small town. Never saw him. Never saw him at the grocery store. Never saw him at the gas station. Never saw him drugstore. Whatever the big bulk stores are. Never saw him. I'm out and about all the time. Never saw him. Yes, I'm the mayor. It's a pleasure to meet you. I've been here 7 years. And I'm running for election and I'd like your vote. And I said, well, don't you think you should have come by maybe sooner? Well, I'm very busy. Okay. And I'm tall for my age. I was born yesterday. I'm very busy. Do you have any concerns? I do. What's the first one? I've never seen you before. What are the chances I'm going to vote for you? Why wouldn't you come to the House after you got elected the last time? If you can come now to get my vote, why wouldn't you come again to thank me for it? That's called customer care, after sales service. Wouldn't you think? But no, because of course I'm in. Now I don't have to do anything except justify my existence by campaigning. Why are they doing that? How is it that an efficient system had to be efficient in the beginning? Otherwise, people would have shot them and hung them out back. Why is it now inefficient? Why are people now phoning it in? Why is a lawyer telling me that a thing they were supposed to do on the 4th of July that they got wrong and didn't mention it, and read it on the 8th of August and got wrong and didn't mention it, even though I'm asking, no, everything's done. And then when I say, okay, on the 28th or 9th, how's it going, eh? And they said, well, blah, 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 blah. And I said, I'm email. And I said, how could you get it wrong 3 times? And the reply back was, it's a very complex system. Well, no, it isn't. The first time you went to the wrong courthouse. The second time, apparently, you gave them the wrong document. The third time, what are you doing now? Did you find out how long it's going to take? Oh, no, you can't do it right then. Why not? Well, you don't want to upset the clerk. Clerk's already upset. You've done it wrong twice. The clerk should be dancing in the streets that you got it right. If I were the clerk and you said, how long is it going to take? I would want to get shut of you as fast as possible. I would say, come back after lunch. There, go ahead. So no, what has happened is one person has said, oh, I can take care of it after lunch. I mean, there's so many of these things. My God, I'm exhausted and it's lunchtime. It's not, what they say is this, it's not like it's going to make a difference if I don't do it right this minute. I'll do it after lunch. I know it's only 10 to lunch, but it's going to take me 15. So I'll just go to lunch. That's what happens. And every single person, every single thousands of people now populating the bureaucracy because, oh my God, we're overwhelmed. We just have so much. Well, then hire somebody else to assist you. The reason we're overwhelmed is you could have done it before lunch and then it wouldn't be on your plate when the next one comes in. If you got it done when you got it, you wouldn't have it to do. But you know what? What's the difference going to be? Yeah, I'm almost on empty. I can probably make it to the gas station by the side of the road. Late now because I had to call CAA, had to call the auto thing to come and get me. Oh yeah, and it's late and it's rush hour, and so I missed that, and so missed this, and so missed that. And it's one of those domino effects. It's a ripple effect. Ineptitude inconveniences people to the point of mesmerization. And even if they wanted to show up, they can't. And I'm willing to bet, without taking you to a toxic place where you're pointing your finger at everybody and maybe not pointing a finger at yourself, because we all do it. We are all guilty of it because everything is contagious. Everything infects everything. Little molecules dancing, if they slow down, then the other molecules over here that were dancing fast, all of a sudden these slow down. These are still dancing. And they're saying, you realize how hard it is for me to do that? I'm looking at me instead of you. Sorry. Miss Haggard, do they allow you to operate machinery? Yes, they do. The difference between the way I am and the way I see this sloppiness, this laziness, is that I'm self-motivated. I don't need motivational training. I wake up motivated. Why? Because I can't stand the thing not getting done. Get it done. There, it's done. Yay. And by the way, it's fun. I like it. I'm having a good time. Not like a lot of people. That's fine. I'm the annoying person who says, are you done yet? No, go away. In any situation where you see chronic ineptitude, there are two things to do. Two things, not three, two. The first is to ask to speak to a manager. If you do it long distance, if you do it by email, if you do it by phone, it is efficient, certainly if they're in Wyoming and you're not, but if at all possible, if you can go and make contact, eye contact with someone, if you can make a friend, if you're capable of making a friend on the phone, do it. If you're capable of making a friend in an email or a text, do it. The reason is because when somebody cares about you on a personal level, they know your first name, you've made them smile, they are jolted out of their apathy. They make an exception to the rule. Why? Because they like you, because you made them feel good, you made them laugh, you made them say, yeah, oh God, you're right. You know what? Yeah, okay. How do you do that? Think about how people annoy you when they're not listening, when they're not paying attention, when they're not making eye contact, and correct it. Be the one who says, I'm going to make a friend right now, today, with this person. Not going to change the way I am as a human being yet. Right now, my focus is that one person. When you connect that way, it's very difficult for someone to still not care enough. It's very difficult. It has to be ingrained in them in that case. So the lawyer and his associate and the assistant and the secretary are all moving at that pace because the leader sets the pace. The leader sets the pace. The person driving the bus is deciding where the bus is going. The bus driver is not sitting at the back. The bus driver, hopefully, is not the new guy on the team. So when the leader has a specific attitude, in a very short period of time, because everything is infectious, everything is contagious, everybody in the company, in the group, in the organization takes on that attitude, takes on that mindset, takes on that momentum, that phase, that way of behaving, that model. Why? Because it's easier to go along than make waves. Making waves can get you fired. The other reason that this happens, remember I said there were two reasons. One is that it's easier to imitate the leader than it is to break out on your own. Even a leader who says, I like you, You're not a yes man. I like you. You stand for your principles. The leader will then spend every single minute he possibly can to break you and turn you into the thing he says he doesn't want, but he does, because it's human nature. How do I know that? Because people like us do things like this. There is no I in team. Yeah, there is. How do I know? Because we're not clones. We're not all doing this. So the second reason is something called the one-legged table phenomenon. Very clever, strategic thinking friend of mine explained this to me one day. And I said, seriously? Yep. It was another one of those situations where I was hired to write a book and I had to be taught everything that she knew so that I could write about it with some kind of, panache. So here's what happens. The person who does the hiring, without realizing it, has preferences, has a bias, I like you. There's something about you that I like. Well, that's because we're both left-handed. Oh, that's because we both have red hair. That's because my suit looks like your suit. That's because we drive the same cars. We both like to go fishing. I like something about you. Yeah, we're in sync. We resonate. Opposites attract, but they don't resonate. So the person who does the hiring hires people like them all the time without thinking about it. So here's why it's dangerous and when it's dangerous. When it's a startup entity, and in the beginning it's just me, and then after a while it's me and him, and a while after that it's me and him and her, and after a while it's me and him and her and them, and gradually it evolves, it populates. But the same person, if the same person is hiring, what they're looking for is the thing that they like, which is familiar, which is them. So if you are an entrepreneur, you're a rebel. You have said in a previous job, in a previous situation, I could do that better. And so you do. You break it on your own. You are usually a good talker. You can persuade people to your idea. You can get investors. Okay. Here's who you don't want to hire as your accountant, as your admin person, as your collecting invoices overdue, as your logistics on the ground, as your security, as your infrastructure liaison. Here's who you don't want to hire for those essential jobs as your company grows. You don't want to hire the rebel. You don't want to hire the guy who can persuade people to do it his way. You don't want to hire them who, hail fellow well met, a bit ADHD, but what the hell will get it done? You don't want that for bookkeeping. You don't want that for payroll. You don't want that for ordering supplies. We're out of toilet paper. You don't want that for parking. I drew the lines. I decided I would do them in pink, or I decided to do them in gray on the black pavement, or I decided to do them on a wavy line because I thought it was pretty. You don't hire that. You hire people who have the mentality and the capability to do that well. And if you, as an entrepreneur who thinks you know what you're doing and you're good at everything, if you have any intelligence whatsoever and you want your company to succeed, what you do is you call an outsourcing agency and you get them to do the hiring. You go to a third party who hires people for a living. You say, I need this and this and this and this, and they go get them. And you will probably not like their choices because the people they choose for you aren't you. The thing about the accountant is it's boring. It's all about the numbers, all methodical. Everything has to be a straight line. Good idea. Good. Shut up, let them do their job. So it starts at the top. And it works its way in and through. It permeates everything. The decision maker whose idea it was has to have the strength and the determination and the commitment to fire themselves from all the jobs. They can still do their job. But once you're big enough and you're the chief executive officer, then the first thing you do is you execute a strategic plan to find the right chief operating officer. And if you don't know how to do that, you go to that agency and they'll tell you. And so you have somebody overseeing operations, hands-on, in person, sitting in on meetings, getting follow-up, getting feedback, doing all the things, managing. You stay up here. You're the rebel. You're looking out for new horizons and new opportunities to create the utmost damned astonishment. That's your superpower. Your superpower is not counting pencils at the end of the month. You would stick one of the pencils in your eye if you had to do that. So the mediocrity begins when somebody important lets it slide. If somebody important is a stickler and somebody down there lets it slide, they knew about it. They know that that was wrong fairly quickly. But if the guy upstairs is late showing up because he was playing golf, or he's having a little something on the side, then before you know it, everybody's doing the same thing. If it's good for the goose, and that begins the downslide to mediocrity, to phoning it in, to shoddy workmanship, to wheels falling off airplanes when they land, to trains going off the rails at sharp curves in bad weather, to people not processing insurance claims, to police not policing, to criminals getting more power than they should have, and people exhausted, overwhelmed, mesmerized by the constant, too tired to say, that's enough. That is the reason people don't come out to vote in huge numbers. You've heard it, you hear it all the time in conversations with the reporters, with the politicians, with the social workers, with the people who care about the systems that are falling apart and the quality of life. People just aren't getting out the vote. Why not? They say, I'm just one vote. I won't make a difference. Unfortunately, when 40% of the population individually says, I'm just one vote, it won't make a difference, you have decisions being made by not 100% of the people about whom it matters, for whom it matters. You get items that you bought, that you need, that you want, that you deserve, that fall apart. The warranty's no good. You call to get the warranty serviced. The warranty doesn't apply on Thursdays if you're left-handed and you have green eyes or whatever. I have an insurance policy that was taken out diligently by my friend, by my dear, dear friend, Dave, to cover funeral costs associated with the wrapping up. The insurance company won't pay it. So the money's spent before the will is probated. So before there are assets that you can flip to pay the costs of all this thing. And the insurance company has refused to pay it. Why? Well, because I worked on a television show once that was popular. And how actors get paid is they get paid at the beginning when they do the work. They get paid what is called a studio fee, and then they get a use fee. And the use is calculated on how long the contract is for and how wide the distribution. And when that is up, you renew. And when you renew, what you get paid is a repay of that use fee. And that is called a residual. Okay. So I'm me, and the company and the distribution company are them. And it's their job, if they reuse what I did, it's their job, they signed a contract, to pay the residual. And they haven't. And they haven't, and they haven't, and they haven't. And it's not just me. It's not a poor me. They have chosen not to. They know they have to. They know they're supposed to. They know the rules. They have chosen to say, make me. What do you do? Do you invest your time? Do you join the Crusades? Do you get a horse and you ride off with your lance to fight the battle? No, you have representatives who are supposed to do that. And they get paid to do that. So they're getting paid. They're your representatives. You belong to an organization. They get paid to look after you. They're getting paid. Yeah. Are they doing it? No. They're not doing it. When you call, oh, that's, yes, we've been looking into that for quite some time. I know. So they're getting paid. That's part of the job. I'm not the only one. It's a great deal of money. It's a great deal of money. And they're not motivated to go get it. They will get, the organization for whom they work will get a percentage of it, but it doesn't reflect on them because they don't get paid a piece of residuals. They don't get commission. They get a salary. And there's a wonderful book written by a guy named Daniel Pink. It's called Drive. Look it up. It's amazing. Dan Pink learned, after studying many people and conducting all kinds of surveys and investigations, that people are not motivated by money. I mean, they are to a certain extent. It's nice to eat. It's nice to be able to get in and out of the snow. What they're really motivated to do is feel good about themselves. They're motivated to find that sweet spot. So if you say, I'll give you $10 more, you won't necessarily get $10 more worth of effort. But if you say, I want to thank you publicly, so I want you to come and do this, and I have this for you, and we're going to celebrate, and everybody's going to know your name, and everybody this. All of a sudden, the person will not only do the $10 extra worth, they'll do 20. They might even do 50. Why? Because pride of ownership, pride of recognition, pride of knowing tangibly that you are seen and heard and valued keeps your level up. Doesn't it? Of course it does. If you feel good, you want to feel good again. So this is the very interesting thing about the power vacuum principle. Nature hates a vacuum. Once you're in, you're in. Unless. And the unless is, it went on too long, and it got too corrupt and too shoddy and too annoying. And the day comes when it's not that bad, becomes, I don't think so, check please. And when we see situations like that happen, we see companies folding, because all it takes after that cumulative effect of dissatisfaction, all it takes is one new person coming along, just the way that first new person came along and said, I can do better than that. And drowned, destroyed, buried the competition. It'll happen again and again and again. Because eventually somebody says enough. And it takes enough somebody's saying enough for this wobbly thing to just die. Every single person that I know, and I know a few people, every single person that I know is, at least some of the time, a consumer. Every single person I know is, at least some of the time, purchasing something that they need. They are buying or selling. That may not be what they do for a living, but every single person is a consumer. Not every person is a car mechanic. Not every person is a politician. Not every person is a seamstress. Everyone is a consumer. Everyone. And you know what's fascinating? Every one of these people who is kind of gradually allowing self-erosion to take place in their lives, in their relationships, in their careers, they are perfectly capable of complaining when the thing they paid good money for is a piece of garbage, was stale dated. I opened the package. It said it was 10 fluid ounces. It wasn't 10 fluid ounces, and one of them had gone bad. Are they upset? Yes. They're outraged. The funny thing is, they don't connect the dots. It doesn't occur to them that you have to want it to be good. You have to welcome competition. You have to look at what is going on. You have to reach out and ask the unhappy consumer, what would make you happy? The rule in market centrics is this: when your market strategy is all about them, success belongs to you. It's right there on the cover. The image on the cover is a magnet. You know what it's doing? It's pulling the market to it. It's drawing the market to it. Why? Because it cares. The magnet cares. The magnet wants to serve. The magnet wants your business, wants to be worthy of your business. Market centrics. One of my favorite stories in market centrics is that what I do with in all my books, I don't just say something because I believe it and then expect everybody to believe me. I interview people. I research. I find lots and lots and lots of examples. And I find some that are, an exception to the rule, because you have to. One of my favorite stories was back in the day, Domino's Pizza. Guy bought the company when he was in college, opened it up with his brother, and realized in about 15 minutes that he was going to die an early death from working too hard, because it was labor intensive. You got to make a lot of pizza to make any money at all. And he realized he was doing it the wrong way. He was copying the competition. That's what everybody does. That's what he had done. He said, that's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way. So he sat back and he said, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? And the answer was, well, I haven't asked anybody what they want. I haven't asked the buyer what they want. They phone, yeah, what would you like? But the buyer is reading off a menu. So the buyer is saying, I'll have number 3. Okay. But if you went to the buyers and you said, so what would you like? In a perfect world, what would you like? And they got lots of answers, tons of answers. But there was something that he noticed. There was a pattern. And in all the answers, there were 3 constants. Like all these people who don't know each other, there were 3 constants. Right? Mostly what people want when they call for a pizza is they want it now. When they say, I'm starving and I don't feel like cooking, let's get a pizza. But they're already starving. Who wants what? Ding, 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 ding. Yeah. But in a perfect world, if you could beam the pizza to the house, you would do it. For an extra $1 or $2, you bet. Bing, poof, there it is. Awesome. I'm just imagining if something got crossed. Anyway, so then they want it fast. They want it fast. What else do they want? Well, they want it hot. There's nothing worse than ordering a pizza and it comes cold. It's all kind of congealed and smarmy, right? We hate that. Okay. What's the third thing? Fresh. We don't want stuff on the top of the pizza the wrong color, and we don't want it to taste off. We don't want the dough, the crust, to taste like cardboard. We want it fast, hot, and fresh. And so this guy said to himself, well, why don't we do that? Others are saying, 17 toppings and with a side order of what's it? Okay, but let's do that. Let's do fast, hot, and fresh. And because that's all we're going to do, we don't have to invest in all of the supplies to do more complicated, more elaborate, and gourmet and whatnot. So we won't appeal to the gourmet audience. We won't appeal to somebody who likes, champagne with their whatever. We'll appeal to people who just want it fast, hot, and fresh, right? Who's that? Well, that's a lot of that's a lot of people. But in a big way, it's students. And in a big way, it would be people who are on the front lines, busy. We got a quick break and then we got to go. Let's get a pizza. Let's grab it. Let's get 6 of them. And I'll order ahead and then we can all take our break and eat fast and then go back to work. Firefighters. Stop. It's hot. Oh, God. Smell that. Amazing. Eat. Back to work. So that's what they did. And their advertising campaign, if you can remember it, was fresh, hot, 15 minutes or it's free. And they opened their locations close to and only papered with flyers, college campuses and military bases. And he did very well, thank you, in case you're asking. Did they make mistakes eventually? Yes. Why? Gradual decline. It happens, the thing I've just been talking about for the last, an hour. And the reason I wanted to talk about it today is that it leads directly to the other thing that is the problem. That Pivotry in Motion, my project, my passion, my heart piece, my campaign for the last 3 years to get going is this. If we are mirroring the wrong people, we are learning the wrong lessons, we are facing the wrong way. And if we mirrored someone who didn't know how to do it well, then we take on those attributes. And if we don't like it, we say, oh, well, I guess that's the way it is. And we don't look further to see if there's anybody else. Who are we mirroring and why? And if we don't like what they told us, there's 2 people to look at. One is us. If we want to go that way, it must be me. I'm always this, I'm never that. Okay, there's 2 people though. There's the person who taught us. What if they got it wrong? What if they were taught it wrong by somebody who? This is our lives. This is our situation. This is our happy ending. It's our happy ending. It's our wake up in the morning every day saying, let's do this. Wake up every morning. Am I still here? Wake up every morning. Is the coast clear? This is our life. It's not somebody else's life. It's not somebody else's company. It's not somebody else we don't like. We don't like the commute. Oh, well, it's only 35 years. It's only 30 years. It's only 29 years. It's only 10 years till I retire. It's our life. And we have no idea how many days we get. We have no clue. So if you didn't know, you know that expression, while supplies last? If we don't know what the day's supply is, it might make sense to get the most out of it. Yes? Who are you mirroring? Is it working for you? If by mirroring whoever it is you mirror, are you left feeling bitter or better? If you feel better, hot damn, keep doing it. If you're feeling bitter, but the voice is still saying, well, it's not that bad, I guarantee you, if you're saying it's not that bad, it is. It's bad. It's just not that bad. And at what point in time did you deserve bad? You are amazing. You deserve everything. You deserve joy and abundance and an opportunity every day to say, we all deserve that. I drove to have lunch yesterday with Carol Hay and my TV daughter, Vanessa Lindors, who had flown in from California because her darling daughter is going to university in Canada. And they were on a shopping trip to buy furniture for the darling daughter's new abode. And we met at a restaurant I had never been to, and Carol gave me the instructions. And I managed to drive 7 kilometers in the wrong direction the first time. And then I managed to drive another 5 kilometers in the wrong direction the second time until some kind soul living out there in the country took pity on me and told me exactly what to do. So, see, 7 one way is 14 two ways. And then you add the 5 and 5, which is 10. So I had driven 35 kilometers on country roads in the pouring rain for no particular reason, except that I didn't understand the directions. And for some reason, my phone wasn't working. So when I finally said, you know what, when in doubt, talk to a human. And I flagged somebody down on a country road in the rain. Be there. They said, what? And I said, where is such and such? Oh my gosh, it's way back. Yeah. And so they told me, and I got there. My car just fell off my sweat. I know. I shouldn't talk about negative stuff. But this is a happy ending. When I finally got to the restaurant, Vanessa was so relieved that I made it in the rain. She started to say, Mom! Everybody turns around. Don't care. I hadn't seen Van in a long, long time. And you know what? Seeing Vanessa, seeing her darling daughter, seeing Carol was worth every single step, every inch in the wrong direction twice, both ways in the rain. Why? Because they fill me with joy. And we had so much fun. And we laughed and we remembered crazy things. And it was, in that moment, the best time ever. Who deserved that? We did. I did. They did. That's why we did it. That's why we did it. Vanessa wants a wonderful future for her daughter, a wonderful present for her daughter. That's why she flew up. They're buying furniture so that the daughter has a lovely thing to sit on when she's studying, sleep on when she's resting, work with, cook with, clean with when she's not. She deserves it. She deserves to have a great life. And that's my motto. I narrowly missed the end when I was 18. Bad accident. I won the lottery that day. And every day that I wake up, I win it again. Mediocrity? I don't think so, Tim. I don't think so. Why would I do that? Why would I do that? Why would I do that of all people? And so my question after I say that is, why would you? Why would you? My advice, please do this for you and for everybody so the ripple effects go the way they should go. Claim your spot. You're walking here. Claim it. Own it. Ask for the best. If you feel sick, fine, feel sick. But if you're not sick, get up, put your pants on, face the front, brush your teeth, go to work, do the job. Do a great job. Rock the boat. And then instead of, oh, I'm so bored, I think, I'm just going to get together, happy hour. What are you happy about? Oh, I don't have to be at work. Get a different job. You know how hard it is to get a job? I don't think it's very hard. I really don't. Given the way I'm seeing some of the jobs being done, I really don't think it's that hard. I just think you have to want it. So the Pivotry in Motion project is, how did you get where you are? Are you happy with it? No? Then let's figure out where the fork in the road was and fix it. Let me help you. I know how that's done. You don't have to learn anything new. You already know. You've learned all the mirroring we all need. We all have. You've just accidentally picked the wrong person to mirror right now. So let's go get the right one. I know where they live. That's the part I'm going to show you. That's the part I'm going to tell you. That's the part I'm going to demonstrate and prove to you so that you will say, well, that was easy. Why didn't I do that sooner? And I'm going to say, I know, right? And then we will all laugh and say, okay, tally ho, let's get in the boat. Let's do this. And at the very least, what we're going to do is we're going to feel that someone cares, that someone hears us, that someone sees us, that someone values us. And you know who that person is? It's us. And we are going to teach everybody how to treat us. Okay? You in? Awesome. Okay, it's Thursday. We have a weekend. We have a long weekend. It's Labor Day weekend. It's Labor Day weekend. We have had the entire summer off. You see where I'm going with this? We've had the entire summer off. Even if we're working all the time, we're going to the cottage. We're going in this. It's the summer, and I'm going to, the hell with it. I'm not going to wear pants. Whatever it is. So what is the holiday we're going to celebrate? Labor Day. I should think we should celebrate Farewell to the Holidays Day. Really? But no. All right, so we have a long weekend. People are going to rush out and buy things at the last minute and then they're going to be getting ready for school because they're going to be getting ready for such and such because they had all summer to do it, but vacuum of power principle. That means that we have a slightly discombobulated weekend ahead. So my advice is this: if the weather is scary, the weather is bad, please, please be good to you. Please take the deep breaths. Please know that the fear and the now what do I do? I've lost everything is something that we all understand, and we are with you. By the way, you haven't lost everything. If you are still standing, if you are still seated, if you are still here, if you can hear my voice or you can read the transcript, the most important part of you is still here. You are still here. And you matter to you and to us. So try to find that to lean into and say, okay. It's awful. It's terrible. I'm exhausted. I wish somebody would fix it. Just don't say, I've lost everything that matters. Don't do that. Because you are what matters. Okay? Little mom talk there. So spend your weekend as you will spend it. Do well. Give yourself permission to say, All right, I got this. Maybe I'll just lie face down on the kitchen floor because the tiles are cool. I'm going to go and run my errands, and then I think I'm probably going to have a nap this afternoon. Running out of energy. But I needed to say this to you today. I needed to talk about this today because we don't have any fun when everything is just blah, when everything is just ho hum. Even when we're the ones who are initiating it, it isn't any fun. And why shouldn't it be fun? Why can't we have fun? Right? There's no reason why we can't. So the drill is, as usual, be good to you. You deserve it. Hug your loved ones. Thank thee for coming so that we could be. You mean everything. All right? And I will see you next week. Thanks for watching.